Well, good day. This is going to be WordArt, and here's a typical Unbound report that you might do for your English class or your science class or your history class. It even looks like a document you might type up for a college class. It's got your header on the top with your page numbers. It's got references at the bottom, and it looks like an ordinary everyday report. Maybe we can spruce this thing up a little bit. Let's go to View and let's go to 100%. And we'll take a look at this heading at the top. It says keyboarding. I don't like that. I'm going to cut that out. Cut it out with Control X. Then I'll move up and center. So we'll put in some WordArt. We'll go over to the Insert tab, and on the Insert tab we'll find WordArt. It's over here, and there's a whole gallery of different WordArt styles. Some of the styles use a serif font. Some of the styles use a sans serif font, and those fonts are kind of built in. You can change them if you want to, but if you change WordArt styles, it'll go back to that original built-in font. Maybe I'll choose this rainbow one, and I'll paste in my word keyboarding. Control V will paste. That looks pretty good. You might notice that the style I chose uses the Arial black font. I'll say OK. You'll say, well, that looks terrible. It's all squeezed up. That's all right. Give it a click. And we'll just spread it out. Maybe grab this thing and move it over about like this. That looks pretty good to me. So keyboarding, you can, first of all, you might want to change the style. You might think, you know what, that style of the rainbow one, I didn't really like that. So go up to this new tab, Format, and all the styles are waiting for you. You can change it back to some other one that you saw that you thought, well, maybe I wanted to use this one, or maybe I wanted to use that one. There's just a whole slew of them to choose from. And you'll pick the one you like, maybe this one. Now you can also change the shape of the WordArt. Let me stretch this out a little bit, and we'll go to here where it says change shape, and there's a ton of shapes to choose from. You can say I want this shape for this style of WordArt, or I want this shape for this style of WordArt, and you just sort of rest over it, and it picks the one that you think maybe you want. Whoa, that looks great. Maybe this one. Something like that. You can change the fill color. It doesn't have to be blue. Up here at the top it says shape fill, and if you want a different color, just choose a different color. If you want red, you can just rest over it. If you want maroon, just rest over it. Maybe you want purple and you think, well, purple with blue in the back, that looks terrible, so you can change the shape outline. The shape outline has colors. That was the background, and maybe we'll change it to maybe some sort of yellow. You can tell the difference right away. So that's the outline of it. You don't have to fill it in with a color. Under shape fill, you could have chosen a texture. You can go down here to texture, and maybe you want it to make it look like wood, so I'll rest over this wood. Or maybe you want it to look like sand, I'll rest over this sand. Or maybe you want it to look like marble, I can rest over this marble, or any texture you want. Or you can change it to a picture. I can go up here and choose picture. Now for picture to work, you have to have a picture. Makes sense. So I'll scroll down and find to see if I have a picture maybe I can just use as an example. I'll use this orange one. Give it a click, say insert. And you can put a picture in behind. This picture and this WordArt don't look very good. I'm going to change the gallery, and I'll go up to the top, see if there's a better one for me. Maybe this one. And I'll fill it in again. You can fill it in. You see, every time you change the style, all of the defaults for that style come back. So the font goes back to its own style, the picture goes to nothing, the fill goes to its standard color, no texture. So every time you change that gallery, you got to change everything else around again. This WordArt is not very good. It's not very good because you can't move it around too much. Watch what I try to do. I'm going to go look at those two pages again, and let's say I want this WordArt not as the title. Maybe I want it as a little pullout on the side. So I'll try to grab it on the edge here, and then I'll move it down here, and I'll let go. Right about here's a good spot, and you can see it pushes all my text around. My text doesn't wrap around it very good. I wish my text was wrapping around it, but it's not wrapping around it. I'm going to change that around, so I'll go back to Format, and I'm going to change the shape. Maybe a good shape would be this shape. Still though, it doesn't wrap very well, does it? That's because the text wrapping is not set very well. The text wrapping is up here, and right now it's set to inline with text. I never use inline with text because it makes your word art, look like a letter that you're typing, and so this G is going to stay with this business word no matter what happens if I move things around. You could choose square. Let me see what square does. And square's okay. It looks like my word art is in a big giant square, and my typing words cannot get underneath here because I have a big white square around this keyboarding. But instead of square, you might choose tight. I'll give that a click and watch what happens on that one. On tight, it lets the words get closer to your word art. So I think tight might be good for some situations and some not. Let me move this keyboarding back up where it was. Let's change this thing to square or tight. It doesn't matter up here. We'll change the view so we can see it a little better. 100% is nice for me to look at. And when you have it with square or tight, you'll get this little diamond shaped thing that you can sort of decide how much of a diagonal do you want, how much of a slant do you want. You can move it up and say I want it to be slanted quite a bit, or you can grab this little yellow one and pull it down and say I want the slant to be less, or you can make it all the way to straight. I think that's pretty good, especially if you want to try to see that picture in there. You can add shadows to your word art. We'll go to Format and it says Shadow Effects, and you can choose one of these shadows. You may not be able to see it very good at first. I guess you can see it a little bit. Then you can nudge it, make that shadow sort of move a little more to the right, or a little more to the right, or a little more to the right, and it moves ever so imperceptibly. Let me just keep moving it for you. You can see that shadow sort of growing a little bit. Not only can you move the shadow to the right, you can move it down as well, and very slowly it nudges its way down, and I'll just let it catch up with me there for a minute. So there are shadow effects, and you can nudge that shadow around. We talked a little bit about text wrapping and the yellow diamond. You might want to change your text. You might think this text is not very good. I want to edit this text. Give it a right click. You can edit the text and say instead of keyboarding, I'm going to make it say keyboarding applications. Don't press enter here, otherwise it'll think you want to enter in your word art. Instead, just do OK. Let's change the gallery one more time, and when we change the gallery, what's going to happen? If you change to a different style in this gallery, what's going to happen? The font's going to change, the picture's going to go away, and you're going to have to change the wrapping. Everything goes back to normal. So I think I'll change the shape maybe to this triangle shape. That looks good to me. I'll get rid of this extra line. I think that looks pretty good. Let's go to View. We'll look at those two pages and take a look at our report. This is what our report looks like now. Hey, I think that looks a lot better. That's about all there is to it.